Hey there, my name is Hey Sophia and welcome to my YouTube channel. I've had a couple of requests from friends to help them out with landscaping in Minecraft, so I thought I could start a channel to also share my tips with the general Minecraft community. I've noticed that on places like on Minecraft on Reddit or even here on YouTube that realistic landscaping isn't really talked in detail on tutorials, so I thought I could do a channel to share my tips. So today for my first video, I'm doing a cottage garden build. I've built a very basic white cottage house here. I've just done some oak leaves for the back hedging fence, and then I've also used a birch fencing for the front to kind of replicate a picket fence. I've got some sandstone accents on the edging here, and then I've just done a little 2 block wide with the fencing archway entryway, and I've made a little roof for it with stone bricks which match the stone bricks that I've used on the roof of the house. So with cottage houses, you typically find that they have vines and plants growing up them. I've just tried to replicate that over the entryway here as well. Don't be afraid to go more than 2 blocks wide. The wider the better. Obviously you don't want it 20 blocks wide, but a bit wider to kind of make it messy and look like the plant's growing like that itself. I've also done them on this front of the house here. I've done birch and oak. Don't be afraid to use more than 2 colors. Plants aren't all oak or one color. Use as many colors as you like. I like to remove roof blocks like I have here and then put the plants in place to kind of make it look like the leaf structure itself has enclosed the block. You also don't have to have gaps in it. You can fill it up completely like this. I've done builds like that, but I prefer to have a couple of gaps. Also, it's very important that you make sure that your plant per se is rooted into something. Plants just don't grow out of thin air, they always have a root structure. I replicate that by just putting a trail of the plant down to the ground. But if you don't like that look, you can use a flower pot and a dead bush to kind of look like you've planted a plant there and then it's been trained up the building. So I've also done some little flower beds below the windows. I've just done 2 block high flowers and a trapdoor. If you don't like that look though, you can do 1 block high flowers with using some dirt blocks and then some trapdoors. That look is also good for second story little planter boxes. So we're just going to start out the video by showing how to do kind of the first area I'm going to do is like a little private area of a garden. You'll find cottage gardens typically have little hidden areas with seating or things like that. So I'm just going to try and replicate that in my back right corner here by doing a little overgrown covered hidden seat per se little area. I'm using sand for my pathway because I've used stone brick for my roof. Obviously if you use a different roof you can use grey like I've just shown there. I am using sand because you find cottage gardens, their pathways are made out of loose stone, so I'm using sand to replicate that. If you've got grey though for your pathways and that's what you want to do, you can use gravel, and gravel is a good loose stone to replicate. So I'm just using the oak leaf now to make a cozy little small area in the back here, making it all wonky. Wonky is good, you just want to make it look like the plant's kind of naturally growing its own. I'm just making it more than 1 block wide so it also looks like it's 3-dimensional, so it's not just a 1 block wide hedge that doesn't look as natural. It looks better when you have that 3-dimensional effect coming off. You can already see it's looking very natural here. I'm also only making the space very small because cottage houses are typically smaller. They have smaller little gardens. I've gone a little bit bigger today just because I'm trying to show quite a few aspects that you can use. You don't have to use every aspect that's been shown in this tutorial for yours. You can just use certain bits that you like. This is just a video to help give you some ideas on how you can go about doing them. So as you can see, I've just made my path a little bit more natural there, 1 block wide, just a bit more natural and curvy, which is what you typically see in cottage gardens. And I'm just placing some sand in here, and I'm just also leaving some grass blocks, so it kind of looks like the grass is growing through the sand, so it looks like the grass is a little bit like it's overrun the sand, I suppose you could say. I'm just putting some plants in here. I'm using typical cottage style plants that we have available in Minecraft. Roses, peonies, the lilacs, large ferns, and I'm also using double tall grass. I think grass is a bit underutilized in Minecraft. It can be a really great plant and look like a tall shrub. And then I'm also just using some spruce stairs here to make a cute little seat. So now we're just going to make a little cover here in our garden. So I'm just kind of playing around and making it a bit messy. You want different heights for your roof, so you want to make it come in certain bits and areas. It's also good if you want to cut little holes out in the hedging there. Obviously, sometimes a plant will die off and there might be holes in the fence or things like that. So that's just what I'm trying to replicate here. You just want to kind of looking as natural as you can. So you just want to play around with it like I am here. You don't want it perfectly square. And I'm also going to be leaving a few gaps in the roof. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to be grabbing some spruce fencing and I'm going to try and make it look like there was once a, like, well, there is still, like, there's a trellis in here and that the plant has grown into its shape because of the trellis. So what I've done, I've just placed some fence posts in each corner and I'm just also going to grab out the spruce gate. What you want to do, just place some blocks so you can place the gate. You just want to place the gate directly all at one level, so you want it all at the same height, and then you just want it to be filling in the gaps at that particular height. So that way what it'll end up looking like when I look overhead and a little bit here, when you're looking down, it will look like that there is a trellis there and that the plant is just growing through the trellis. So you're kind of getting that look, like, as you can see here, it kind of looks like a trellis is there and that the plant's just growing through it. Very natural looking, and there we go. So the next aspect of the garden that we are going to be working on, we're going to build a couple of pathways quickly to the front. I find it's best if you very messily just ruin your blocks to just make a path. It will look more natural the messier it is. So what I normally do, as you just see, I quickly click through, destroy a bunch of blocks, and then I work around that, making my pathway and making the curves. I find that it's best to sometimes just be messy like that. If you try and make it yourself, I find that perfect isn't always best. It can sometimes look a bit put on. So sometimes it's just good to messily place a bunch of blocks, move your cursor around, see what happens, and then you join it up once your pathways have been dug, just like I'm doing here. So I'm just building two and then I'm just curving them around the structure. You want curves in your cottage garden, so I'm just curving it around my house there. So we're going to move on next. We're going to do our flowers last in the backyard. You're going to work your garden beds, your flower beds around everything. So now I'm just making some vegetable patches, I suppose you could say. Vegetable garden patches for my back garden here. Silly me though, I accidentally dug out my dirt here, which is when I needed dirt and I was going to put my slabs on top of it here. So what you want to do, you don't want to dig a hole like I am doing. You want your vegetable patch in the middle to be at least 3 blocks wide. I find if you're doing this method where you're doing slabs on the outer edge, if you've got it only 2, it looks a bit too thin, not natural. So what you want to do is make it at least 3. This is also a really good garden bed if you are in a survival or PvE style world, because this one's actually functional. The ones at the back there that I'll be showing aren't really functional, but these ones I'm doing here will be. So if you have a cottage style house in PvE and you're looking to do a garden and you're using this tutorial, these garden beds can actually be not only a good accent and decoration for your cottage garden, but they're quite useful. So I'm just grabbing my slabs, my wooden slabs now to make my edging. I've done spruce, so that way I'm also matching the spruce wood that you saw that I used in my trellis in the little private area back there. So I'm just placing my grass blocks down again, because I shouldn't have removed them. And then I'm just going to place my spruce on the top like so. You also want to leave one gap, like I just saw. You just want to have a little hole and then fill it with water, so that way as you hoe your land like I just did, the water block that's hidden under the slab will irrigate your crops, so that way they're functional, and then that way you have some working crops that are actually useful in a PvE world. So I'm just going to finish off this second garden bed here, doing the exact same that I did with the first one, just destroying one block, the water, and then you just quickly work your land and they will irrigate from the hidden block there. So now that they're done, I'm just putting the sand pathways completely around the edge of my garden paths. You'll typically find vegetable patches will have a path around the complete outer rim, so that way it's completely accessible. You don't want to have a garden bed right up against a vegetable garden patch, which is a working thing, right up against a hedge and you can't get to the other side so you can harvest your crops. I'm also just going to continue this pathway around my back to decorative garden beds back here, just with the sands as well. And there we go. Okay, so now you got the basis of your garden patch starting here. Although now I'm not liking how this pathway is looking here, just the way it's joining up. It's a little bit too thick. So I'm just playing around here, working with it, just making it that 1 block wide look, just because I'm not liking the 2 block wide. So that's looking a little bit better for me, so I'm just going to fill this in again now. So there we go, and just make it a little bit more curved here. So that looks a bit better. So now we're going to work on these back ones here. You're just wanting to get the wooden trapdoor, and then you just want to put them around the edge like I showed with the flower box earlier. So it looks like you've got a little, like a little wooden slabs, I suppose, like wooden panels on the side of your garden bed. And then you're also going to want to grab spruce fence posts. And then what you're going to do, you're just going to put them in your garden. You can make your garden beds wider if you want, and then have 2 equal size ones. I'm putting them in here because they look like trellis or training posts that you see in garden beds. Like if you in real life were to do tomatoes, you have a trellis up there to train the plant to go up. So that's just what you're trying to replicate here with the fence posts. So I'm just using a few plants that are the closest looking ones to plant, like fruit type vegetable plants, and I'm also just grabbing some podzol and some coarse dirt to put in the base here, so it just looks a little bit more like it's kind of mulchy garden bed type dirt, just so it's looking a bit more natural. Just randomly placing it whatever you think looks nice. I've just done a random pattern here. And then I'm just placing some large fern, some jungle leaves, because they got that the little fruity looking flower look on them, and some double tall grass. So as you can see there, I've now got some decorative garden beds up the back there. And I'm just going to grab some beetroot, some carrot, and some wheat, and just quickly plant them in my flower bed. And I'm just going to bone meal them to grow them quickly, because I'm too lazy to wait for them to grow. And I'm also just randomly placing my seeds in here, as you can see. Obviously, if you're in PvE and you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, you can make it one garden bed could be all carrots and one could be all beetroot, but typically in real life your garden beds are all mixed up. So that's just what I'm trying to replicate here, just so it's got that look like my garden bed is a mixture of crops or vegetables or fruits. So I'm just bone mealing them all quickly, just because I'm too lazy. So once that's done, we'll move on to the next section of the video here. Okay, so there we go. So now you got your little garden bed. So what we're going to work on now is a little garden shed. If you look at at photos on Google or anything like that, you'll find that typically when there is a vegetable garden type patch going on in a cottage garden, they'll always have a little garden shed. Even if they don't, large gardens will, because you find that people need to be storing their spades and things like that. So I'm just doing a little wooden garden shed up the back. This is completely decorative. You don't have to do this. It's not really functional for anything in Minecraft because it's only the 3 blocks wide. If you want, you could actually use this as a entryway to maybe if you wanted to hide your mine entry in here, or have a secret little entryway. You could put a little hole in there and a ladder. just so it does have some functional use if you are in a PvE world. But for a creative world like I'm on, it's just a completely decorative thing just to add to the cottage type little look here. So I'm just going to plant some trees now. You do want some height in a cottage garden, not so much a lot of big trees, but a lot of medium height. So what I'm just using is some dark oak fencing here to make some very thin tree trunks to build medium trees. I'm also going to grow and build in the gap over here a large oak tree. I'm not going to show that today just because trees are quite tedious and they can be a little bit finicky to build. So just to shorten my video today, I'm not going to include it. In the future though, I will be doing a tutorial on trees. So if you would like to know any type of trees to build, or there's something that you're struggling with, please comment down below and let me know, and I can try and have a go at trying to replicate it for you just to help you out. But as you can see, you kind of want to base your leaves off, I suppose, an oak tree, how they naturally are structured to generate in Minecraft, and then you just want to make it a little bit messy. I find bits coming off or bits hanging down, gaps in there, will just make it look that little bit more natural. So as you can see, I'm just playing around here. And then once this tree is done, I'm just going to speed up the video and skip, and you will see that I've completed my oak tree and another 2 trees in the back area here. So as you can now see, I've got my oak tree, I've got 3 spruce little medium height trees, and I've also built a couple little 1 fence block, 1 birch block little mini tree shrub type things just at another height. And we're going to start working on our garden beds, which is a very partial, not very partial, but a very important area of a cottage style garden. So like I said earlier, grass can be a really great block. I'm just using grass to show you. I'm just lining all my footpaths, and then once I finish this, I'm going to just focus on one area, and then I'll skip through every area being decorated here. So I'm just using for my first layer of my garden bed grass, ferns, daisies, the little purple ones. I'm also using tulips and the fluffy white snow ones here that I'm placing. The way that cottage garden works is a stagger, so you want to have normally about 3 different heights of plants, so that's just what I'm trying to replicate here. I'll be using these plants to do my first layer. I'll then be doing saplings and barrier blocks, which I'll show you to do my second layer, and then you want 2 block height plants up the back to do your next one. So I'm going to use 4 types of saps today. I'm just choosing for myself oak, spruce, birch, and the dark oak. I've also just realized I forgot to grab my barrier blocks, so I'm just turning my chat back on to quickly give myself one. Oopsie daisy, I forgot it's just barrier. So there we go, now I'll turn my chat back off. So there we go, so now I've got my barrier blocks. So what you want to be doing, just grabbing a sapling, putting them directly behind, and then a barrier block on top. So what that will do is it will stop the tree growing. You don't really want to have a second layer that suddenly grows into a giant spruce tree and then it's taller than your first and your back layer. So you just want to kind of randomly place your blocks here. Like the first layer, you don't want them completely tulip grass fern, grass fern. You want it to be very natural, just randomly go around, place, see what works. If something looks a bit empty or it needs a little bit more, if it needs to be bushier, I typically will replace the block with a grass block. If it needs to be thinned out a little because it's looking too bushy, I'll then go for something thin like the purple or a tulip. And it's also good if you want just place maybe, see I've got 2 dark oaks next to each other there and then a spruce. That's completely fine if you want. I just think it looks a little bit too full there, so I'm just putting a fern. Don't be afraid to have it each layer wider than 1 block. You don't have to be 1 block of the first layer, 1 block of saps, then 1 block width of the tall. You can go back and forth between the layers. I typically find it's good to just start off with the 1 layer that you want, do your second layer, and then kind of merge them into each other. And then for my 3rd layer here, I'm just doing a mix of the lilacs, the peonies, the roses, the large ferns, the double tall grass, I'm not using sunflowers just because personally I think that sunflowers are a little bit more of a warmer climate flower. You're more than welcome though if you want in your cottage garden to place sunflowers. Just also remember that sunflowers will face towards the sun. So you're either going to have to put them in different areas of your garden. If I was to place sunflowers in my garden today, they would be facing towards the house in the backyard here, so they would have to go on my front. So as you can see, I think it's a bit too empty here, so I'm just going to put a grass block, and there we go. So you can see I've got my staggered garden going on here. It's looking very cottage-like. It's bushy, but it's organized chaos. It's a good thing. So I'm just going to skip ahead now because it's going to take a while. So just so you've got a general idea, I've done this bit for you, and we'll just speed up now. So as you can see, I've now done all my flowers. It's looking really good now. It's starting to come together like a cottage garden. It's looking very full, which is what you're wanting. Now, what we're going to do now, we're going to try and just unspace, just not too much flowers so it's not overwhelming. We're going to put a few more aspects in here to kind of split up the garden a bit. So I'm just using some jungle leaf blocks here to kind of make little shrubs, little bushes. So you just want to play around. I typically do one cluster of a bush and then I will have one bit coming off to the side, which you can see I've done here. I just find it looks a little bit more natural if you have one big one and one to the side, or you can just do one block like that. That also works well if you're showing it's kind of like a baby bush. And then we are also going to just be placing some shrubs here that are growing over our little outdoor garden shed here. I'm also going to work it into the hedge a little bit, so it looks like it's taken over some of the hedge. You'll find, even in real life, that sometimes things are weeds or some plants are stronger than others and they'll start to take over others. That's what I'm just trying to replicate here. So you just want to play around a bit, see what looks nice. I think the top layer there looks a little bit chunky with the roof sticking out, so I'm just going to remove that. And then I'm just going to get another stone brick there. So I've got some roof hanging out, so it's not looking completely 2D at the front. So that's looking a bit better there. So that's that one done now. So now you've got an overgrown garden shed like you see on the house. It's got that overgrown vine look to it. So I think that's looking quite good. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to build down the side here now a undercover trellis area. So kind of doing the same idea as I did in the little back private area. We're just going to build a walkway. So I'm just going to do 4 blocks long, and then we're going to do here, we're doing 3 blocks wide, I believe. Is it 2? No, 2 blocks wide in the center. So you would want to go 3 blocks high with your fence, and then you just want to do the exact same thing as earlier. You want to grab the gate, and then you just want to place the blocks and then place the gate on top, just so you've got that little trellis look going on up the top. I've done spruce again to match all the spruce accents and decorations I got in my garden elsewhere, so that way you kind of got a theme coming on with wood. I'm using the birch, and then I'm using my little tip with the flower pot and the dead bush in there, just to look like I've purposely placed these plants here to train up over this trellis. You'll typically find that with trellises, it's a purposeful thing. People will purposely plant the plant to go over the trellis. So I'm just putting mine in pots. I'll typically use the pots for trellis type ideas. So as you can see, I'm just kind of building it over the trellis, and then I'm over the fence blocks here, and then I'm also I'm removing some to make it look like the plant, as I said with the roof earlier, is completely encasing it. So you just want to kind of look like it's growing into the trellis, it's growing with it. Just play around. It's good to have some gaps. If something looks a bit too clunky, just remove it, play around a bit more. See, that's looking too clunky there. So I'm going to delete that one. And I'm just going to build it into it more. So that's looking a bit better there. Just going to build into that one too. Okay, so that's starting to get there now, but just play around, see what looks good for you. I'm thinking this looks pretty good for mine. So now we have our trellis done, our garden beds done, and our flower beds. So what we're going to do now, you'll also find that in cottage gardens, so typically if you look at pictures or even if you go to one, they'll typically have a lot of plant pots. Cottage gardens have got lots of flowers, so there's obviously lots of plant pots around. You'll find that at entryways or stairs or areas that do have bricks, they'll normally have plant pots, so I'm just placing a few to kind of replicate that look there. And we're just going to skip ahead now to the front garden. Okay, so now we're in the front garden here. I'm going to be making a little pathway for the front here. I'm using the end stone brick to kind of get a paver look, as I just showed in my invent there. If you're going for the grey gravel up the back, I would find that cobblestone would be a really good replacement to make a paved kind of stone look. So I've just done end stone because it's the closest to sand. So I'm just going to join up my back to my front now with the sand. Again, messily, just delete some blocks, play around. I've also, if you've noticed, I've made my front path a bit patchy to kind of get that look coming through, that grass is growing through the pavers. And I'm just going to build a little hedge entrance here. So as you can see, the same with the front gate, I'm just building it three-dimensional rather than just the one 2D entryway to look a bit more natural. I've deleted a bit of fence to make it look like it's encompassed the fence there. Just playing around. So this is looking pretty good to me. I'm just going to speed up and do the other side now as well. So as you can see, I'm just quickly placing my blocks, as I said, very messy. And then I'll also do my the same grass entry little hedge entrance here. I'm also working it into the trellis, so because I've got a trellis right there with a different plant and then my hedge entry there, I'm also working the oak leaves into the trellis, and I'm working some of the birch into the hedge. So I'm just skipping ahead now. So now I have done that, I'm going to work on to doing a flower bed for my front garden. So I'm just going to grab some plants now. I'm just grabbing the exact same plants that I did in the front area. So I'm just going to grab the same little shrub ones that I did. So I'm also just going to do the exact same up the front. I'm going to be using the little cottage flowers, and I'm also just going to speed through here as well, because if you need to reference, you can just go back in my video a bit and see what I did in the back area. I'm just doing the exact same, but only on the house side, because we want a little bit of lawn in the front garden, just so we've got that lawn effect. Okay, so now that that's done, we're just going to start working on now. So now that that's done, we're just going to start working on our lawn area. So I'm going to be building a few trees, the exact same spruce ones that I did up the back. So I'm just going to be grabbing the same dark oak fencing to make my thin tree trunks, and then I'm grabbing the spruce leaves, and I'm also going to be grabbing some flower pots for later on, and I'm also going to do a couple of little like the little one height tall ones, and then the birch leaves on top that I showed up the back as well. So again, I'm just going to show the one tree here, just showing how I did it so you get another better idea. And then once I am finished with this tree, I will speed ahead. I am leaving the front more lawn because you don't want too many flowers. You'll find that cottage gardens do normally have one little lawn area, so I'm kind of separating the front to be lawn and then the back to be the more flower area, which also gives you an idea that if you want to do just lawns, this is kind of how you would do a cottage garden lawn. And then if you're doing more flowers, the back is what you kind of the effect that you're going for. So I'm just going to build another tree now and a couple little shrubs. So I'm just speeding this up here because, again, like I said earlier, trees are finicky. If you need to get a better idea, you're more than welcome to just go back and relook at how I did the spruce earlier. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to just place a few more jungle tree shrubs. I'm just breaking through the fence here just to give it that more natural look, like the shrub is kind of growing through. just play around, see what looks good. I'm just placing a few around here just so I have a little bit of some bushes here, so it's not just plain lawn, it still looks like a cottage garden. I'm also going to be placing just a couple of the flowers, the tall ones around the edging, just a few very randomly placed, just kind of looking natural. So I'm just going to put a few in the corner here, maybe one here. So again, as you can see, I'm just randomly placing them in little gaps, so you don't want lots of big clusters, just a few. Okay, there we go. That should be okay. So the next thing you want to be doing is grabbing the flower pot, again like the back, just a random few ones around the pathway. I'm just using the poppy like I did in the back to fill just a couple of them. There we go. And the last little decoration I'm going to be using is, on our server we have a schematica to get skulls. Obviously you might not have one on yours, that's fine, you don't have to include this decoration, this is just something a little extra I've done. So these are just some birdhouse heads here. So all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing dark oak. I'm doing, spruce oak. I'm doing the fencing. I'm doing 2 high and then a little birdhouse on top. Just a couple of random ones. I'm just doing a few. You'll find cottage gardens normally have a few. There's not normally just one random one there. So I've just done a few. I'm also just doing a little bird bath here, which I'm making up. So I'm just using a hopper and then some water on top. So it just kind of looks like a little bird bath. You could also get a bird skull and place it next to it, so it looks like a little more realistic, like a bird bath. I'm just going to do another little birdhouse here, because why not? You can never have enough. And there we go. So that is my cottage garden tutorial done. I hope you really enjoyed the video. I hope this helps you if you're doing a cottage garden and you want to know how to do a realistic one. Like I said, you don't have to use everything, just the bits that you like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this helped you. Please comment down below, and if you like this video, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions for me, also comment below and just let me know. Yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, thank you.